Hey, Vinyl community, welcome once again. It is Thursday night, and that means that the five of us are going to be doing another top five list. And today we are going to be talking about our top five new wave alternative song. No, I'm sorry. Our top five new wave alternative albums with one honorable mention. We've got Chris Prophy from Chris Prophy Musically Obsessed. We have Gary from Physical Format Rock and Roll. We have Josh from JC Flipside Vinyl. And as always, we have the VC ambassador, Aaron Mutha Alamere, rounding out our lineup tonight. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
What's up, man?
So we're going to do our honorable mention. It's not Kiss Alive, one by one. And, you know, before, just because I think new wave alternative might mean something a little different to each of us, if you want to just kind of briefly talk about what your categorization of new wave alternative is, and then we'll get into your honorable mention. Then we'll just go around and each give our rankings. So we're going to start with Mr. Chris Prophy to my right.
So I might have misunderstood. Are we doing a favorite album or are we doing a favorite band?
We're doing albums.
Now's the time to ask.
I thought you said favorite band. All right. Well, you know what? I got some albums to show, so we'll just do that.
All right.
All right. Well,
you didn't get the memo. That's all right.
I don't know. You know what? I don't pay attention. All right, so my honorable mention is going to the Thompson Twins. All right, they are a new wave band. Now, I've got two of their records. I've got Into the Gap, and that is not a dirty reference. Now this
is
with Doctor and Hold Me Now on it. Really good stuff. And I also have Sidekicks. Now, Jeff, you had shown this at one point and said it had a different title. I don't know. I think there was a UK versus American release. I can't remember, but this was great too because this has the song "Lies" on it. Now, I mean, people are going to laugh when you say you like the Thompson Twins, but I really don't care. I think they're a great band, but I'm putting them at number 6. I mean, they're not going to beat out the other guys that I have on here, so. You know, it's kind of weird because we think of like new wave and alternative. And then I was texting you guys earlier today. I'm like, well, are we going to throw like, you know, post-punk or whatever there? I mean, I feel like all of these genres sort of kind of mix and they kind of borrow something from each other. So it's going to be interesting tonight to see kind of where we all go with this. But yeah, number 6 for me is Thompson Twins. Did I answer correctly? Is that what we're doing tonight?
Yeah, man. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I think it might be a little bit of a free for all. So I will describe what I consider to be new wave once I get to my number 5, because my honorable mention, I don't really know if it fits into that description. I picked this one just because it is a little bit out of what my other picks are, and it's something newer. So I went with Made of Rain by the Psychedelic Furs. This came out last year. And to me, I mean, this is as good as anything they've done. I mean, they haven't put out a record in like almost 30 years as far as new material. I know they had some live albums or whatever. But Richard Butler, his voice is just like a little bit more ragged than it used to be. But it's almost like it just adds that much more depth to his vocals. And this sound, the sound of this album is just so atmospheric. And I really love this record. And I don't know, I haven't really heard anybody else talk about it. It kind of seemed like it went under the radar a little bit, but that is my honorable mention. Is Made of Rain by the Psychedelic Furs.
I love Psychedelic Furs. I got to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had a new album.
if you liked their stuff back in the day, I can almost guarantee you'll like this.
Yeah, I
remember-
love the Birds, so I'll definitely have to hear it. All right. So new wave to me. So when I grew up, I was really into hard rock and punk rock and heavy metal and things like that. But I did like new wave. And to me, new wave was always, those post kind of like after punk had died down, those bands that like I'm about to show. Hopefully they qualify as new wave, but these are the type of bands that I thought were new wave. And I had a tie for my honorable mention, and it's Berlin, which I absolutely love this album. I mean, I think Metro is probably one of the greatest songs ever written. It's just fantastic song, but this whole album is great. The one thing I'll say about Berlin is she's still making music. I don't know how many original members are left, but she's got some very scandalous album covers. So Google her album covers. I'm just going to say that. And then Elvis Costello, there's another Elvis Costello on the list. I love Elvis Costello. I hope that he is considered new wave. But this album is fantastic from start to bottom. Radio, though, is like my favorite song, which is so great that like someone would stand up against corporate radio, which is just brilliant, especially at the height of his career or like the beginning of his career. But, I heard he was not the nicest person in the world back then, but I love this album. So hopefully you guys will let me know if these qualify as new wave.
Yeah, I'm the judge and jury, and I say they do.
Okay, thank you.
But
No,
no, it's
definitely.
right. Like, great way to try and get on the radio is shit all over radio. Perfect marketing strategy. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Those are absolutely great choices, John.
Thank you.
Okay, Aaron.
So I've got a special honorable mention and an honorable mention. Now, I had a friend from work, her husband, his name is Scott Richards, and her name is Sarah. And he came over and bought some records from me, and he left me a few records to listen to. And so I was going to put this one in. And this
I
is
love
on
that record.
Download Records. So this is an original, and I've been listening to it, and it sounds a lot like John Lennon-esque, I think. It's pretty good stuff here. And so, they brought me this, and then this one here. These are all originals. And this one. And I thought you'd like these, JC, because I know you're a big fan.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so I got all these. And then this big booklet thing here with records. So I'm getting into him, and that's pretty good stuff. I really like it. But my actual one is Romeo Void, is my my honorable mention. And they're a female-fronted band. They actually have some saxophone mixed in. There's a song on here called Never Say Never that's really good, but it just wasn't strong enough to be in my top 5, but it was right on the edge. And I really love this album. Really good, a very unique sound, and I really like this. But I just thought Josh would like those Elliott Smiths.
I love it, dude. My heart's beating fast. I'm like,
That's pretty hard to get that Download Records, probably, right?
oh yeah, definitely.
And it
Fantastic.
sounds great. I was listening to it today. It sounds great. So it's kind of a little bit later, so it's not quite new wave, but all my rest are new wave. Because I was gonna do the new wave of heavy metal records, but I go real new wave on this.
Yeah. All right. Well, for my honorable mention, I'm going to go with Lewis and the New Sports. They really kind of opened the doors for a lot of new wave alternative bands that went afterwards. No. It wouldn't be an honorable mention if I wasn't trying to mess with people. But no, my honorable mention, and I actually have it in 3 different formats here. I'm going to go with Depeche Mode, Some Great Reward. So I've got it on the vinyl. I've got the cassette. I've got the deluxe CD version of it, but I love this album. It's not Depeche Mode's best album by a long shot, but I don't know, just something about it screams kind of new wave alternative. It's early 80s. It was released in 1984. It's kind of the first one where they actually kind of got, some airplay on the radio, at least in the States. Their videos, started to get play on MTV. But you got, People Are People is the main single off of here. But you also have Master and Servant, Blasphemous Rumors, Somebody is off of here. And then you got the deep album tracks, Lie to Me, It Doesn't Matter is great. But I don't know, I really have a soft spot for this album. It's, like I say, not my favorite Depeche Mode album, but when I think like new wave, early 80s, alternative, this is one of the, first new wave albums that I got into. And, I don't know, some of it's a little, it's definitely of its time in terms of synth pop. They definitely branched out a little bit more. They expanded their sound on subsequent albums, but I don't know, there's just something about it. It's just sort of like it heralded in, again, like it sort of made synth pop respectable, and it kind of opened doors for other synth pop bands, and people started taking it seriously, not like, oh, it's just bands with funny haircuts and they're all synthesizers and stuff. So anyway, that's my honorable mention.
Love it. Such a fantastic band.
Love them. They might show up in my list.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they weren't on some of the other lists here. But all right, Chris, your number 5.
All right, my number 5 is Devo, and I mean, I've got Duty Now for the Future, and I've got a twofer with it's Oh No, It's Devo on it, and Freedom of Choice. But I want to show you guys a record that I just bought today. I had never heard this Devo record. It's called Smooth Noodle Maps. And this is from 1990. This was their last album before 2010's Something for Everybody. This is like a deluxe version with colored vinyl and like added bonus tracks and stuff. And JC, I kept the hype stickers on for you.
Thank you, man.
This is a whole bunch of stuff, and it's got a poster in it. It's got like punch out little dolls and things. So it's really cool. I had never heard this record before, but one really cool thing about this, they do a version of Walk Me Out in the Morning Dew. And I always remember the Grateful Dead doing that. And I know other bands have done it as well, but Devo does a really cool sort of electronic version of it. I just love Devo. I mean, a lot of us know him for Whip It and I Can't Get No Satisfaction and Girl You Want and Gates of Steel and Through Being Cool. I mean, those are all great songs. This was a new album to me, and I just really spun it today, but I'm loving it. Smooth Noodle Maps.
Nice.
Oh, Devo's new wave, right?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Are the Monkees new wave?
No, but Devo was one of the earliest new wave bands. I mean, they did all the way back to the late 70s, and they had some great hits.
Yeah.
I mean, people always think of, Whip It, but, Freedom of Choice was great. I Get No Satisfaction. They did a great cover of that.
I love their dark humor in their songs too.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of those songs where you listen to it and you're like, all right, wait a second, there's like a hidden meaning here for something a little darker. So just a cool band.
I really like the version of Coal Mine too. That's really good. Working in Coal Mine.
Yeah.
I used to when I was a senior, I DJ'd the school dances that they held after the basketball games, and I always played that Working in a Coal Mine by Devo.
Oh, it's a great song.
So they're like you said, Devo might show up in another list here coming up shortly.
Well, again, if you guys are into Devo, check out Smooth Noodle Maps. It's a really cool record.
Yeah, don't let me forget that, Chris, that title, because I definitely want to get that. I don't have that. So awesome pick.
Thanks.
So anyway,
I'm getting better as the video goes on here.
You will. I know by the end we'll be
by number 1, I'll be like unstoppable.
So like when I was thinking of new wave, when we first said this was going to be the topic, I think of like when I was in junior high, And the bands that were coming out, like, like you guys had said, kind of like right after punk, and they weren't the bands that were they weren't Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin and Van Halen, all that stuff. They had these shorter songs. They were more compact. They were still, at this time, mostly guitar driven, but they added synthesizer to it. And, there weren't any political songs or anything. They were mostly upbeat things. And sometimes they were just a little odd. So in the late 70s, Warren, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, like Cucurulo or something like that. And Dale and Terry Bozzio were in Frank Zappa's band. They left in 1980 and they formed their own band, which was Missing Persons. And this is Spring Session M. This came out in 82. And I think, they had an EP before this that had Mental Hopscotch on it. And that was a big hit. But, this is one that has Destination Unknown and Words, what are words for? And Walking in LA. So this was like their biggest album. And this to me is just, I know that Dale had that quirky voice, that some people maybe couldn't take type thing. But these songs to me, they're just well-written songs. Some of them, really kind of rock, and others are just like, very odd songs. And as an album, I think it works. And, I've liked this for years. And then of course, Dale and Terry were married at one point, obviously. Terry went on to play drums on this album on Guitar Shop. This is one of Jeff Beck's best. And thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
And he's a hell of a drummer. I mean, that's the thing. All the bands in this in here were really good musicians. So, it wasn't like just some garage band kind of thing. So this is a really cool album, Spring Session M, Missing Persons.
Love that record. I got it too.
Cool.
All right, guys. So my number 5 album is probably one of my best thrift store finds ever. It's an import Portuguese press and one of my favorite records. And I told you I'd have one other Elvis Costello, but My Aim Is True. I just think this is, probably my favorite Elvis Costello album and his first. That I know that everybody knows the hits. Allison, that was a huge one. The Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes, which I just think is an absolutely fantastic song. But Less Than Zero, that's another great one. Miracle Man, it's just top to bottom is a great album. And I found this at a thrift store, Portuguese press, import. It was like $3, totally
Wow.
established. Just a great record.
See,
I had this compilation when I first got a CD player. I had this compilation. It was called Girls, 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 and it was Elvis Costello. That was my first introduction to Elvis Costello. And the first song on that compilation is Watching the Detectives. And
Yep.
that big drum, and that was like one of my first introductions to ska that wasn't the Police. But it's just got such a cool rhythm to it. And it's got, clever lyrics. And that's what I love about Elvis Costello. And you can call his lyrics pretentious, and some people can't get past his voice and how, kind of strange he looked. But I don't know. I think Elvis Costello is great.
I love the lyric. I just looked it up where he goes, it's so funny to see you, girl, after so long. The way you look, I understand if you are not impressed. Like, it's so, like, such a great lyric. Like, hey, I understand if you're not impressed the way I'm looking. But yeah, he was fantastic. Great lyrics, quirky, I love it.
Mhm. Well, and I love the song Mystery Dance too. It's all about it's about sex, but it's somebody who's like, I've never done it before. I'm a virgin. I have no idea what I'm doing. But it's just, the metaphor that he uses is just so clever and so, funny and cool at the same time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that, and at that time period when he came out, I know you don't think of him that way now, but when he came out, it was like a new wave kind of thing, a vibe that he had going.
Yeah.
So, that's a good choice.
Yeah, and he had
Thank you.
those thick glasses, you know, he had like those, you know,
Yeah,
looked like Buddy Holly, like a new wave
right.
Buddy Holly almost. Uh-huh.
When I walk into my tattoo shop, my friend Bruce, he always screams, he's the owner of the shop. He goes, "Look at this Elvis Costello looking motherfucker." I'm like, "Thanks a lot." That's what he said every time I see him. I'm like, "Oh God."
Funny. All right, Aaron.
So mine is a very odd record, but I really like it. It's this is called "My Life in the Bush of Ghosts" by Brian Eno and David Byrne. And this is a great atmospheric record, very different, very experimental. I really love this album. I was listening to it the other day and it just blew me away. I love how it sounds. All these different, you know, it's just weird stuff. It's I don't know if any of you are familiar with this, but it's
I've heard
really
of it,
good.
but I've never heard it.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's very tribal at times, very synth, very electronic, but really good. And it's got all this weird chanting and strange stuff, but very worth checking out. Killer record.
Sweet.
I'm throwing some weird ones in here.
That's good.
Yeah, but I've seen a few other people show this too. I
Did
know there's some.
did Sweet FA come out with a new wave album?
That might be my number
What?
one. Oh, you're ruining my surprise.
Okay.
Let's craft my Megadeth and
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is really good though. It's great musicians, Brian Eno and David Byrne. So
Right.
is that how you say his name, Byrne? Talking Heads,
I think it's Byron.
Byron.
The poet.
I'm just being an asshole.
Cool.
All right. Well, my next band has a Depeche Mode connection to it. And it's again another synth pop band, but you know, synth pop more than anything kind of screams new wave to me. And that's sort of some of my favorite new wave artists are the synth pop genre. But I am going to go with Yaz, or Yazoo as they were called in the UK, Upstairs at Eric's. You know, when I went to college, every single person had this album. Like, if you didn't have this album, you know, it was very unusual because this was so popular. But Alison Moyet is just a great vocalist. Vince Clarke was in Depeche Mode for their first album, Speak and Spell, and then he left the band and formed Yazoo with Alison Moyet. But just a fantastic album. You've got Don't Go on here. Situation is on here, Only You, which I think is a song most people have heard off here, but just a great synth pop. Yazoo was only around for 2 albums before Vince Clarke left to go form Erasure. But this is just a standard. I mean, this really influenced so many bands that came after. I mean, you want to talk about like New Order, obviously Erasure, but you know, some of the other bands that were in the synth pop vein definitely took their cues from Yaz. And really, this was a dance record, really, more than anything else. And all the synth pop that was danceable, whether it was Human League or, you know, I don't know, Thompson Twins or Eurythmics, you know, all their danceable synth pop stuff, you know, you hear in this album. But it's really fantastic. I think the artwork is very cool on it. But I've got that one also on CD as well. But
Mofi just dropped that one. That Yaz album. So $25. Go get the Mofi.
yeah, well, it'd be worth it. It's a great album.
Oh, why did they change their name though from Yazoo to Yaz for the States?
I have no idea. I don't know if they thought, you know, Americans would think Yazoo was too weird. I really don't know. I've never understood why they did that. But you know, yeah, I mean, in every other way, the album cover looks the same, except there's 2 O's at the end of the name. But do not know. But you know, Alison Moyet went on to have a pretty, I wouldn't say she, you know, charted very high or anything on her solo career, but you know, she's definitely a great vocalist that I don't think gets enough recognition.
Nice.
Nice choice. I have that on CD. It's a good album.
Jeff, do you not have the cassette?
I do not.
I have it. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, no, I love that. That would complete a trifecta of awesomeness.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident I have it. I'll let you know tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. All right, number 4, Chris.
All right. My number 4, I'm going with A Flock of Seagulls. And I really like A Flock of Seagulls. I have their debut, which most people know, with the song I Ran on it. Great song, great album. I also like their album, Story of a Young Heart, which was their 3rd record. But my favorite record by A Flock of Seagulls is an album called Listen, which was their 2nd album. It's a little bit more darker than the first album. It's got some of my favorite songs on it. Wishing, If I Had a Photograph of You. I love Nightmares. I love Transfer Affection. The Traveler is really cool. The Fall, It's Not Me Talking. Now, here's the thing, though. Yeah, there we go. I mean, look at these guys. That's the problem, is they sort of got made fun of with their hair and everything. The music is very, very, it's dark, it's electronic, it's new wave, it's, you know, it's a little bit of everything. I love the vocals on it. You know, it's just, it's a great album. And I would suggest any of the first 3 records. The 4th one, I forget what that one was called, but that was terrible. But the first 3, you're good with if you like that 80s sort of new wave synth pop sound.
Yeah, I in high school, my hair actually looked like the lead singer. You know, it was, and I got my ass kicked for wearing it that way. Badge of honor. That was like established my new wave alternative credibility, because I got my ass kicked up and down the, you know, the high school for wearing my hair like that. But you know,
Yeah.
You never know. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, my list.
What were you gonna say, Aaron?
That almost made my list. That album.
It's a great album. Flock of Seagulls is great. The problem is they just get ripped on because of their look, but their music is really, really good.
Yeah. I used to play I Ran at the school dances also. That was
Right.
always a. Remember the
I like
video?
I like their other hit, Iraq.
Remember the video where he's on the keyboards, he's just going like from one note to the next note, and they got all the aluminum foil all around them or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah.
You're right. Their look did kill them.
Yeah.
It made it hard to take them seriously. I remember there was a show.
His hair is not as bad in this first record. It's not as wild.
Yeah.
Well, you know, for all we know, when they were making the video, they might have told him, you know, hey, do your hair super crazy like this or something. But there was some show that they had. It's been a few years back now, but it was like one of those shows they put on in the summer, and it was called One Hit Wonders.
Yeah.
And they would bring these bands back from the 80s and they would do it. Well, they had Flock of Seagulls. Now that guy must not have the hair now because he had a hat the whole time when he was on there doing that. But I just thought that was kind of funny.
It was there was something, and they play live, right? Like 2 songs live.
Yeah, right.
Greg Ken was on that too.
Who was?
Greg Ken.
Greg Ken?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember Flock of Seagulls and Greg Ken. I was watching that too. I'm pretty sure it was the same thing.
Oh, I'm sure it was. That's a shame though, that, you know, bands like you just said, Chris, you know, here you like their albums and stuff, and you always hate it when some band gets labeled for one frickin' song when they actually had, you know, plenty of other good songs.
Well, I tell you what, on Story of a Young Heart, check out the song Never Again, The Dancer. Killer song. I mean, a lot of people just didn't go past the first album, but you know, like I said, the first 3 records, if you like the first album, you're gonna like the second one and the third one as well.
Yeah,
That definitely had to be on the list.
I saw them on the Monsters of Rock tour.
Oh, that would have been awesome. Right before the Scorpions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ozzy sings background vocals on I Ran. I think Randy Rhoads plays guitar on it.
It's the silent guitar.
Yeah.
You can't hear Ozzy because he was facing away from the microphone because he wasn't sure where he was, but you know.
Yeah, I think he passed out like midway through the first verse, but yeah.
He shit his pants and passed out. He
Yeah.
just played there for days.
He was off snorting ants off the studio floor, but
Okay. So my number 4, some of my next ones, you'll have to remember that some of these bands now that we consider classic rock, maybe when they first came out, they were something new. You know, they were considered like new wave or something different. And this next band was the same way. Because, you know, I remember being like 13 or whatever, and these guys hit the scene. And that would be the Police. I think they fall under this category. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to think that way now because, you know, they became such a huge band and we almost think of them as classic rock, but you know, when you really listen to it, they're not. I mean, they were definitely a different band. I know when they first came out and you know, like Outlandos D'Amore, you know, hearing those songs, it's like at first you would hear some of those songs and it's not like they hit you right away. You know, certain songs would, but others you had to listen to them a little bit more to really appreciate it. It's the same way I think with this album. You know, this has like Demolition Man and Invisible Sun, which are a couple of my favorite songs. Invisible Sun might be my all-time favorite Police song. I don't know. I mean, I also like Can't Stand Losing You, but that's not on here. But this, to me, this was the album where everything came together for him. This is a 5-star record. And, you know, I probably, since we were going new wave, I probably should have picked an earlier. I almost went with Zenyatta Mandata, but I picked this one instead just because I think it's a better album. But I love it. I love that, the label on that album too. I think that's cool. But
I tell you
So-
what, the Police
Go
were
ahead.
so influential, and I'm being serious with this one. I know I joke around sometimes. Listen to Rush, Grace Under Pressure, and they basically ripped off the Police. I mean, it's like the Police just were so influential. They were starting to influence bands like Rush. So
well,
it's crazy.
that is a terrific point. And actually, like if you listen to Stuart Copeland's snare drum sound, you know, on this album or before it, and then you listen to the snare drum on Moving Pictures as compared to the albums before that. And
Yeah.
Neil Peart himself, Neil Peart, one of the greatest drummers of all time, was influenced by Stuart Copeland. And that's right. They were definitely listening to the Police. And you know, at times those are things I almost didn't like Rush doing. In a way, I love the Police doing it, but it's like I don't need you to sound like the Police. You know, we already have that. But yeah, they were definitely influential on many bands that maybe you wouldn't think they would be, but
Yep.
so
That's
Gary,
okay.
that is, and I like Chris, I am not joking around. That is one of my top 5 albums of all time. I'm not sure where it ranks in the top 5, but it is definitely one of my top 5. It's definitely my favorite Police album. I think they're new wave just by virtue of the fact there was nothing that sounded like the Police on the radio at that time. My favorite side on there is probably side 2, because I love, you know, every single track on side 2. You know, I love Too Much Information,
yeah.
Humanize Yourself. I think Omega Man is fantastic. I love Secret Journey. I love the synths on there. There's just such a dark atmosphere to that album. You know, I love Darkness, the album closer, which incidentally Stuart Copeland wrote, which I didn't realize for the longest time. But yeah, I think that is a fantastic album. I think that is the best Police album by far. You know, unfortunately, you know, after Synchronicity, they would implode and never record a studio album together again. But for me, that is just a fantastic album. I love everything about it. I love the artwork.
Yeah.
You know, their ensemble playing. Yeah, I think Invisible Sun was the Police's greatest single that they ever released, even though it's not as popular as some of their other stuff. But just a fantastic album. I almost picked that one, but I'm like, I know somebody else is going to pick it. I I'm glad you did, because if nobody had, I would have been beating myself up for not putting it on my list. But
And that's, you made another great point too. You said the album has a dark sound to it. It really does. I mean, the album cover itself is black and everything. And there's that whole feeling, even though there's songs like, Everything She Does Is Magic, which is like a super joyful song, right?
Mhm.
But yet, even that has like little moments in there of darkness, and it evades the album, but you don't go away from it feeling like, oh man, type thing. It's just a magnificent album.
Yeah, Gary, I love what you just said, because I love that whole album. Invisible Sun is probably the best Police song and probably the best Sting song ever, right? But like you said, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. I love the line where he goes, I'll resolve to call her up 1,000 times a day and ask her if she'll marry me in some old-fashioned way. But before, I can't think of the next line, but like before she picks up the phone, he hangs up and he'll always be alone. There is darkness in that, right? Like this happy song has still got Sting going, got this edge, and I love it. It's fantastic. Yeah,
I think, they had already, they were fighting quite a bit by this point already.
Yeah.
But it was still working for them. I mean, the friction and whatever they did in the studio really worked here.
Yeah.
Well, I love the fact too, you talk about the song, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. I mean, Sting revered that song so much that he reprised lyrics from that song on the next two albums that he recorded. You've got the song Oh My God at the very end, where he, reprises the lyrics. So I have to tell the story of 1,000 rainy days when we first met. It's a big enough umbrella, but it's always me that ends up getting wet. And then on Love is a Seventh Wave from his Dream of the Blue Turtles album, he reprises the lyrics from that song, also from Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. So.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't realize that on the solo album.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So
Cool information.
Michael Stipe, the singer of R.E.M., had a conversation with Courtney Love because she hates David Grohl, and she goes, Kurt hated Dave Grohl. Kurt couldn't stand Dave Grohl, and she like hated that Dave Grohl become so popular. And he said to her, he said, a band is a bunch of different elements that create this magic, and the people don't necessarily have to like each other. And sometimes that tension between each other creates the most beautiful music. And she understood at that point, and she ended up going to the Hall of Fame with Dave Grohl there, and they resolved their differences. But that's the thing with the Police, is they may not have been able to get along, but that animosity or that tension created such fantastic music. So maybe it's good that they imploded. They left us
It
with
works. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. That tension can make, superb bursts of creativity, but it can only last so long. Like Pink Floyd, right? You had David Gilmour and Roger Waters just not getting along, but they created some of the greatest music of all time. But they got to a certain point where, okay, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
They implode. You're right.
Well, I hope my next one is New Wave. I apologize if it isn't, but I really love this album. And coming from Massachusetts, this is one of those albums that pretty much when you're born, they hand it to you. But I was born already when this came out. And I just remember it always being on the radio and being a massive, massive album. This is the Cars self-titled. I do love all of the Cars records. I think they're all great. But this is like pretty much a greatest hits to me. Like there's not one bad song. Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed. Like you think about that, like those are the three opening songs. They're just massive 80s songs. Much like Gary, when I was in high school, I also DJ'd the dances, but they were for my church, the youth group. And the majority of time we were playing Slaughter or Motley Crue and a lot of the hair metal bands because that's what was really popular. But we'd still play the Cars, it was like, the music just never went out of fashion. So I love it. And I love this album. Hopefully it's New Wave. I'm not sure if it is or it isn't.
It totally is.
Okay.
So how did Shout at the Devil go over at the church dance?
What's funny is we would stick to songs like Home Sweet Home and Too Young to Fall.
Shout at the Devil!
Yeah,
when that
I
album
knew-
came out, that album came out in 1978, and
Yep.
I remember because my parents, I remember my dad bringing home that album, playing it, and you know, the only thing we listened to in my household were like Fleetwood Mac, Journey, Boston, Rolling Stones,
Rod McCune.
stuff like that. And I remember hearing that album being like, what the hell is this? Like, what is that drum sound? Like, how is he getting that drum sound? It was like this electronic drum sound. And then the synthesizer that was part of the rock song. It's like, it was like, couldn't believe it. I mean, you know, it's kind of lost on people now because of so much that has come afterwards. But the Cars really revolutionized a lot of rock and roll and made it, new wave elements part of the mainstream after that first album. But it still sounds fresh today. I love, the drum sound is still really unique. I think the use of the synthesizers, it's still a hard rocking song, but it's just such a unique texture that the keyboard, enhances the song with. And they stood out. They were, again, we talk about, well, they were the only band that sounded like the Cars ever. I mean, of course, in the 2000s, there are bands that have kind of co-opted their sound and tried to deliberately sound a bit like the Cars. But, you're talking like the late 70s, even into the early 80s, like who else sounded like the Cars?
Yeah, I saw the Killers in concert, and they covered the Cars and said, we pretty much just tried to steal their sound. Like they were a major influence on us. And they're just a fantastic band that I think a lot of the younger generation probably doesn't even know of.
Yeah, like even the Strokes. I mean, I think the song 1979 by Smashing Pumpkins sounds a bit like the Cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I never thought
I
of
don't
that.
like it much. Yeah, it's kind of funny. The Cars, even when I was in my almost all metal phase, where I only listen to metal, I was still listening to the Cars because I like them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're that good.
Yeah. And I almost used Candy-O in mine, but I decided not to.
That's a great way. I could have shown all five.
Yeah.
Both in it.
Well,
Yep.
all I got to say is you guys are already stealing some of my picks, but
My number, what are we at, 4?
Yep.
Number this. Adam and the Ants,
oh,
The Wild Frontier. I love this record. I've been playing the hell out of it the last few days, getting ready for this. And that song, Ants Invasion, it almost sounds like a horror movie. And it's really crazy. The horror, like a horror movie song or something. I love that. And ant music. Press Darlings, I really like that song. I need a new copy. This is a little beat up, but the record sounds great. And yeah, I just really like this record. I was gonna use their album after this, Friend or Foe, but I think I like this better. This is a really good, solid record. And I always kind of liked Adam and the Ants, even back in the '80s. So it wasn't that hard to choose this one.
I was like Flock of Seagulls. I think Adam Ant. People didn't take him quite as seriously because of kind of the way he looked, but he's got a fantastic catalog of music, and people think, oh yeah, whatever. But no, his first couple records are dynamite. I used to wear my makeup like that in high school too, and I used to get my ass kicked. I mean, another reason why I used to that happen.
So you had the Flock of Seagulls hair and Adam Ant.
Yeah, and I had the vest.
Wow.
I had the Flock of Seagulls hair. I was a mess.
He was carrying around his Yaz cassette.
Yeah.
that is
Why is nobody going on a date with me?
But no, seriously, Adam Ant is a great great artist. I love I love Desperate But Not Serious is a fantastic.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
A fantastic song. Prince Charming is great.
I even like the song Strip he did later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Goody Two Shoes, of course, in the next album. He had a lot of good songs.
Also, in the early 80s, for a short period of time, he dated a young Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh,
so he gets props for that too.
Yeah.
All right.
They did a lot of cocaine together.
All right.
They did. He saw a lot of them.
The song, it's Ants Invasion is my favorite on this. I love that one.
All right, number 3.
Are we on your,
Yeah.
are we on number 4?
Don't say Rod McEwen.
Well, wait, Jeff, did you share your number 4 yet?
Oh, shoot. No,
Or
I'm
was
enjoying
you-
your guys' pick so much. I'm like,
I think this is the most I've heard Jeff talk. He's
I
like,
know.
yeah,
I
I know.
know.
More
My number
in
4
depth
pick was
with-
Ghost in the Machine and the Cars debut. No, okay, you're right. Whatever. I'm just so absorbed in your guys' pick. So my number 4, which I have in 3 different formats. Anyway, so this is a band, and the first I was exposed to them was on MTV, and I remember we had just gotten cable, and MTV was like the channel that we watched all the time. And I remember seeing this band and like Inks. I've never heard of that band before. And then I realized like, oh no, it's NXS. Like after
Yeah.
my friends kind of clued me in, but yeah, no, this album, the one thing was the video that I saw on MTV. I've got it on vinyl, and then I've also got CD version of it. But this album is fantastic. And again, is it NXS's best album? Maybe not. But to me, it defined new wave. You've got the one thing on here, Don't Change. Those are the 2 songs that anybody who knows NXS has heard those songs. But To Look at You is great. I love Spy of Love. I mean, every single track on here is just fantastic. And this was where NXS got it together finally. If you listen to the first 2 albums, NXS and then Underneath the Colors, they don't sound a whole lot like this. They finally, and I don't know if it was the producer or what it was, but they're an Australian band, and I don't know. I think this is one of the most solid alternative new wave albums of the early 80s. All my picks are from the early 80s because that's when I really started to get into new wave and alternative. But, you've got some brass, is it like on a new wave song? That's a new element. But yeah, and they've got, the organic drums, but they still sound a little bit electronic. It's new wave, it's synth pop. They've got some heavy guitars in spots. I mean, the one thing sounds absolutely different than Don't Change. You almost wouldn't know it was the same band. That's sort of the stylistic shift. And there's just so many different styles on this album. It's really, pretty impressive to listen to kind of in hindsight. You realize this was 1982 and they sounded so together on this album. But that's my number 4.
Yeah, they were a great band. They really were. I don't think honestly, I liked them at the time. I don't think I appreciated them as much until later. Even though I was buying their shit back then and I liked it. I think, because I was listening to so much heavy rock more so and different things. Later on, I feel like I went back like, man, NXS, what an amazing band. I mean, they really were. That's a great pick.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, it's called Shabu Shaba is the name of the album. I didn't say the name of the album, but yeah.
you can't say that anymore, Jeff.
Mhm.
Jeff, how is their live album? Because I saw it in the store the other day, but I've never heard it. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah, it's called Live Baby Live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it?
or Live Baby
Or
Live.
is it Live Baby Live?
Yeah,
Live Baby-
they've never really said, is it live or live? But Live Baby Live obviously is a lyric from New Sensation. But anyway,
Is it good though? Is it worth it? Have you heard it?
yeah, if you like NXS, you'll like it. I mean, the versions are a little closer to the studio versions than maybe some other bands, but it's still a good album. Mhm.
Cool.
I'll have to check out that album because I've only heard Kick, so
Mhm.
that was the name of that album with all the hits on it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all-
I like Listen Like Thieves.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Listen Like Thieves.
That was another great one.
Mhm.
All right. Well, my number 3, Jeff already talked about Depeche Mode. And I loved listening to Depeche Mode in high school. I still like to listen to Depeche Mode. I'm going back and forth between Music for the Masses and Violator. I have to go with Violator, though, because, I mean, every song on here, World in My Eyes, Sweetest Perfection, the huge hit Personal Jesus. Waiting for the Night, beautiful song. Their song Enjoy the Silence, that was a huge hit. Policy of Truth was a huge hit. Blue Dress and Clean. So even the deeper cuts on this album are really good. And this is nothing against Music for the Masses, because this is a great album as well. But this is always going to hold a place in my heart. I love Violator. I do want to say this, though. If anybody has never heard this album, this is 101. This is the Music for the Masses tour. This is a live record by Depeche Mode, 2 records. It's the Music for the Masses tour before they became, I mean, they were big here, but I think Violator just pushed them like even further. So this was sort of right before they became really, really huge. So this is a cool record as well.
And it's actually, they made that into it's a movie. There's a concert movie also that accompanies that. And it's not like a traditional concert movie. What it is it follows a group of fans around. They win this contest and they get tickets to the Depeche Mode's 101st concert, which is at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. And so you kind of follow them. There's like concert footage intercut with, it's almost like, it reminds me of the Real World. They put these strangers together and they're on their way to go see Depeche Mode in concert. And then you see some kind of, footage of Depeche Mode as they're kind of wandering around Los Angeles. And then you've got some clips from the Rose Bowl concert. But yeah, that is the definitive Depeche Mode live album. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I even like some of their later stuff. Like this is Playing the Angel. I love this record too. I forget what year this came out. The date's too small for me to read, but
yeah, I think that was early 2000s, like maybe 2003.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. So if you're into Depeche Mode and you've never heard this record, check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I just got my first ever Depeche Mode CD like last week or whatever it was, the one you were talking about, Jeff.
Songs of Faith and Devotion.
Yes, I got that. It's in my car now. I've never listened to Depeche Mode in my life. And so I bought that and I thought, well, I got to give this stuff a try. So
that's great too. That followed Violator, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that was one he's talking about where the one guy is having all these chemical problems and the other guy's writing songs about it. And then he has to sing it, whatever all that was. So I thought, I'm going to get that. So, so in ancient Rome, there was a poem about a dog that had 2 bones, and he licked the one, he licked the other, and he ran in circles, and he dropped dead. I'm talking about Freedom of Choice by Devo.
It's like, where are you going with this, Gary?
It sounds like Listen, Son.
Yeah.
I thought it was Jack Pyle for a minute.
It's the lyrics to the song on Freedom of Choice.
Jeff, that's one of the unreleased Jack Pyle album.
Ancient Rome. There was a poem
so this is
about a dog who licked a bone.
It's the actual lyrics. I'm just quoting them. I had this on 8-track back in the day. I first saw him on Saturday Night Live doing Satisfaction, and then I don't know, whenever this first came out, I bought this, and then of course Whip It became this massive hit off of that. Whip It's a great song, really, but I mean this, the song Girl You Want that opens up this album is just fantastic. I love that song. That's the thing about Devo. I know Chris was already talking about him. So, but it's amazing that they could write these quirky songs, but they were still really good. They were songs you could sing along with, or you could rock out with them, you could dance to them, whatever. They made them these weird songs acceptable. And as popular as they are because of certain songs, I still feel like they're underrated as far as being songwriters go. And I guess I won't talk too much about them because, we already spent quite a bit of time on them, but that would be my, whatever it is, number 3 pick. Freedom of Choice by Devo. Love this song.
Nice.
So my number 3 is one of the biggest albums of the 80s. And hopefully they're new wave, but I always consider them new wave. And that is Tears for Fears. This is Song from the Big Chair. Absolutely love this album. So in 1985, I was 11 years old. So at that point, I had a turntable, I had a cassette deck, I listened to the radio. These guys were all over MTV, all over the radio. Yeah, just a fantastic, fantastic album. You know, and when I pop it on, I think one of the reasons why I rank it so high is just the memories cascade of, you know, just listening to this album at 11 years old. But Shout, The Working Hour, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Mother's Talk, I Believe, Broken, Head Over Heels, and Listen. It's not a long album, but it's just a fantastic album. So hopefully it's new wave, but that's my number 3.
Great album.
Huge album.
Yeah.
Sure was.
No,
I like your
I
album
think they're
before that,
definitely
too.
new wave. Their first album is so different. Their first album is almost strictly synth pop.
Yeah.
And the maturity, the growth that they show between, which those albums are only 3 years apart, but they sound night and day different.
Yeah. And then the next album was more Sowing the Seeds of Love, right? They took a
Yeah, it
sonic.
was a little more
that one, too.
psychedelic.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cool.
Cool.
Cool pick.
My next pick is probably the most popular of all mine. I mean, for how big they were. And I could have went with any of their first 3 records, but to me, they were always new wave. And this is my favorite album by them, even though their second record was by far more popular. But this is Seven and the Ragged Tiger from Duran Duran.
Nice.
Love this album. I was almost with Rio, but I just have always liked this one just a little better. Listening back to the Reflex, that guitar in there is pretty cool, actually, where it kind of fades, has this weird fade in it. Really cool. Union of the Snake is actually my favorite Duran Duran song. That's probably says. And you know, it's just a great album. And I've always liked Duran Duran. I don't care what anyone says. I think they're a great band.
Dude,
Yeah.
I listen to Rod McKuen, so.
Yeah. Yep. And you know, the first album's really good. I like Rio a lot, but this has always been my favorite. You know, New Moon on Monday, even like The Seventh Stranger, Shadows on Your Side's really good. Love that one too. Cracks in the Pavement. I'm looking for Cracks in the Pavement. It's just a solid record. There might be you know, maybe Take the Dice is not quite as good, but I really love it. I think it's I always think new wave is always this is the first band that pops in my head usually when I think of new wave.
Wow. Jeff, you could title this one The Softer Side of Aaron.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
ladies, just make sure you remember Aaron is married. So
Yeah.
That's right.
I
I
know
think,
he's showing a Duran Duran record, but you know.
I think of
The Lady
Crime and
Girls.
Passion is a great song out there too. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I actually listened to this on my on Tuesday after I was all drunk. I listened to a couple of these records and they were even sounding better. The Reflex was blowing my mind, that guitar, and I don't blow my mind when I had a few beers.
So are you saying Duran Duran is better when you're drunk?
Yeah.
All right.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. No, but I mean, when this stuff came out, this is 83. I was 13. It's right before I got into my real heavy phase. Around 86, 87 when I really got into the metal, really heavily into metal. So I was into this kind of stuff, Greg Kihn, you know, a bunch of stuff like that before the metal. I liked the metal back then, but before it really took off with me, this is the kind of stuff I was listening to. So,
Mhm.
and then I went all, and then I worked my way back around to where I listen to it all,
Mhm.
which is kind of cool.
I want to see that playing in the background on a Tipsy Tuesday. You know, I want to see you going like this, singing to some Duran Duran.
The Reflex.
Cheers,
Yeah.
VC.
Make a private video.
What would be
Shadows on your side. Woo!
Yeah.
it'd be funny to see him listening to Duran Duran, but like laying on the ground in the fetal position, like some, with like his clutch records all over. His wife walks in. Aaron, are you okay?
It's always an adventure on Tuesday nights at my house.
Love it.
By the time my wife gets home from work, it's usually too late for me. I'm gone, doing all kinds of weird stuff, you know.
Well, my number 3 pick is an artist that Josh has already covered. but it's a different album than the ones that he picked. I'm going with Elvis Costello, Armed Forces. I mean, I can't disagree with this is Elvis Costello's third album, but I certainly can't disagree with his first two, My Aim is True or This Year's Model. But this one has one of my favorite Elvis Costello songs of all time, Accidents Will Happen. I love that on here. So many great tracks on here. Oliver's Army, which actually you can hear that song on in the movie Depeche Mode 101. They're listening to that in the movie. But it's just you've also got What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding, is great on here. But yeah, so many great moments. It's definitely a little more power pop than his earlier stuff, but I don't care. It's great. Elvis Costello is a fantastic songwriter, but he also knows how to craft a great hook. And he's also very political in his lyrics. He's got some biting lyrics, some social commentary on here also, that he dresses up in very melodic, very poppy kind of arrangements. But the Attractions were a great band, and this is a great album.
I love the back cover more than the front cover. I'm surprised that they didn't go with that as the cover.
Well, I think this was the cover in the UK, and then this is the North American cover. For some reason, they thought, oh, well, this is a little more new wave looking than this is. So,
dude, you're absolutely right. That album is fantastic, and it's so different than the first two. But what's so funny about Peace, Love, and Understanding is got to be one of the greatest Elvis Costello songs.
Great song.
Love it.
That's the UK cover right there.
Oh, wow.
So
I like that cover better than the other one.
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of the Clutch record, right? The one with the elephant.
That's what I was thinking of. But yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I gotta have Clutch on your around,
So Elvis Costello.
Yeah, that one.
So in Elvis Costello's album Spike, he had that big hit. I'm trying to think of the name. Is it Veronica?
Veronica, that he wrote with Paul McCartney.
He wrote with Paul McCartney. Yeah, a lot of
Mhm.
people don't even know that. So that's fantastic.
And that song was about his aunt who had Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you're number 2.
All right. Well, my number 2 is a band I don't really hear a lot of people talking about that much, and they're probably more alternative. But the band is the Jesus and Mary Chain, and an album that most people go to is Psycho Candy. Now, if you've never heard the Jesus and Mary Chain, they're led by two brothers, Jim and William Reed. They're a Scottish band. They were formed in 1983. This album came out in 1985. It's basically the Beach Boys with like a lot of distortion and fuzzy guitars. So if that sounds like something you're into, like Beach Boys melodies and sort of chord progressions, but like with this fuzzed out distortion, this is what this album is. Now, this is not my favorite Jesus and Mary Chain album. It was the next one called Darklands, where they sort of they toned down the fuzzy guitars and they just focus more on the songwriting. This again sounds it's got a lot of Beach Boys sort of references in it, song structures, even some of the vocals are kind of Beach Boys-esque. Really, really good tunes on here. I think they had some minor hits with a song called Happy When It Rains and another song called April Skies. But, I don't really hear the Jesus and Mary Chain talked about too much. This is a killer record. And even the record after this, I love this album as well. This is called Automatic. And this was more revved up. This was more like like a hard rock record. So if you want sort of just a harder edge, I would check out the album Automatic. I'm just showing them all. I'm just going to show this off too. I've got Barbed Wire Kisses on vinyl. This is B-sides and stuff. And they actually, they do a song called Kill Surf City, which they just show you how much they love the Beach Boys. Yeah. One of my favorite songs is on here. It's called Taste of Cindy. So like I said, they're more of an alternative band, but they're so good. I think they were probably more influential than we think. There's probably a lot of bands that came out maybe like in the 90s and even now that probably would cite the Jesus and Mary Chain as an influence?
Well, I think they were also heavily influenced by the girl group sound, like the Ronettes and some
Yeah.
60s girl groups. You definitely hear that sound in their arrangements.
But this is an album that everybody should probably have in their collection, Psycho Candy. And again, it's not my favorite Jesus and Mary Chain album, but this is probably the one they're most known for.
Well, there was a band in the 2000s, and they might still be around, called the Ravenettes or something like that.
Yeah.
They sound a
Yeah.
lot like the Jesus and Mary Chain.
Great.
Say the Razor.
Yeah, the Ravenettes. I had that.
Ravenettes.
Oh, I thought you said Razor.
I love Raisinets.
Me too. They're awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My number 2. I like the nightlife, baby.
I like that.
There you go.
Got the Cars, Candy-O. Actually, I had this, but Josh ruined it. So
I ruined it.
I'm just showing it. No, I mean, I was kind of thinking, I thought, I probably will not be the only person that might think of using the Cars because, I mean, they were one of the best bands to come out of that time period and out of that whole genre. Just terrific songwriters, great musicians. When you think of like new wave aspects, you think of, Just What I Needed. So you've got that little weird synthesizer thing going on in there. And the guitar solo by Elliot Easton is basically a rockabilly guitar solo, that he puts in there. I mean, it didn't sound like some other guitar solo that would have been done that you would normally expect in the middle of a rock song. And, like you guys, you've already talked about this quite a lot. They took new wave music and put it in the forefront and made it mainstream. Now we think of this as, classic rock, but when it first came out, it was new wave. So that's my number 2 pick.
What was cool about what they did on that album too is you've got almost like how the Beatles used to segue one song into another. You've got Double Life right into Shooby Doo, and then Shooby Doo into Candy-O. Kind of that whole like there's not a moment of silence.
And as far as like talking about new wave, and slightly alternative or whatever. So really, this one is kind of more odd or new wave sounding than the first one is. And then Panorama is even more so than what this is, so they were advancing and then they kind of went more pop after Panorama, but they were definitely still experimenting on these first 3 albums.
What was the album after Panorama?
Shake It Up.
What?
Yeah.
Shake It Up. It was Shake It Up and then Heartbeat City.
Oh, okay. Because I'm thinking one of the albums, the last song was like it sounded like a thrash song, and I'm being
Yeah,
serious.
that's Door to
That's
Door.
Door to Door.
Door to Door. Yeah.
That's their 6th record.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And you know what I like a lot too is where is it? Oh, it must be out in my car. I got the Cars in the car.
That makes sense.
And I really like Ben Orr singing. He doesn't get as much recognition as Rick Ocasek, but I think Ben Orr does some of their best songs vocally. He was Just What I Needed, Let's Go, Candy-O, a bunch of them, Drive. But I really like Ben Orr.
I've never gotten sick of that song Drive, even though it's
Love that
played a
song.
bazillion times. The lyrics are so haunting, and it's one of those songs I'll never get sick of. I just absolutely love it.
Well, it's just like Jeff said, that first Cars album, it still sounds fresh.
Yeah.
You've heard so many of those songs so many times, or like Moving in Stereo. I
That's
still
where
hear
it's
that
from.
song. I've got to listen to it.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. And it goes with a great movie too. So
So my next pick, guys, is probably the least new wave out of all of them, but definitely alternative. The first time I heard this band, I was on the bus for we were probably in middle school. We all had our Walkmans, and some kid that was sitting next to me, I always thought was the coolest kid because he always had music that I had never heard. Was like, listen to this, and it was a song called "Boys Don't Cry." And instantly I was like, I need to get albums by this band. But I'm going to be honest and show you what my favorite album by this band is. And it's probably their most popular. I know it's, cool to say, well, I like their first album, but this really is my favorite Cure album. I know it was their biggest one, but I just feel like it's a masterpiece. This is called Disintegration. And every song is just absolutely amazing on it. My favorite song is Pictures of You. And it's like a very long song for a hit. And the lyrics are so dark, right? I've been living so long with these pictures of you, and it's a dark song, man. But it's still, this album has got some positive songs like Love Song, which he wrote for his wife on their honeymoon. Fascination Street. The song Lullaby is super creepy. I just remember listening to that as a kid and just being totally weirded out. But
Like about a spider or something.
Yeah, exact. Spider-Man is coming to have you for dinner tonight or whatever. But I used to listen to this, picture young Josh Costa, 11 years old or whatever, listening to this, trying to fall asleep. It's just a great, fantastic album. So I really love it. And they may not be new wave, but I think when they first started, they're probably new wave or at least post-punk.
No, they're totally new wave. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If we say it is tonight, it is.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff is the tiebreaker. He can tell us what it
He's
is.
a moderator, so yeah.
Yeah, he'd be able to tell me my next two aren't, but that's all right. My next record is a totally amazing record. Every song is killer on it. This band doesn't get nearly as much recognition for how great they are. And this is Good for Your Soul from Oingo Boingo. I love this record. It's amazing. Dead Man's Party is a good record too. I have that, but this is better. This album is so good. Why Do You Want to Be Me is amazing. Every song on this is good. I was just blown away listening to it when I was drinking of how great this is. I don't know if you guys know this album very well.
Danny Elfman is just a genius.
Oh, this album, it's a rockin' record too. It's like new wave. It's rocking. It's got some horns in it. It's kind of all over the place. And this is, I think, the best record they've done that I've heard. I've heard about 3 or 4 of them, but this is just an amazing, amazing record. No Spilled Blood. I love that song. Every song's good. Sweat. Nothing Bad Ever Happened. Good for Your Soul. Amazing song. I love it. So, is this new wave?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
83, and that's just an amazing Danny Elfman. And I didn't even realize there's actually 8 members to this band. They have 4 and then 4 more. So they got it's kind of crazy. An 8-member band there. And I'd highly recommend any of you listen to this record if you haven't heard it. I put it ahead of Duran Duran. I love that Duran Duran record. But that's how good this is. It's just amazing. Got all kinds of ska, new wave, all kinds of different sounds mixed in, and really good crafted songs, great choruses. I mean, just very experimental at times. Really good record.
Mhm.
Cool.
All right. My next record is from an artist that I never hear anybody talk about except for me on my channel. I feel like I'm the only one carrying the flag for this particular artist, but I'm okay with that. I just hope more people will discover how fantastic this album is. And unfortunately, he's labeled a one-hit wonder. And certainly the video that was on MTV did not do him any favors because it just kind of lended itself to, oh, this is a novelty track. And people don't explore him any further because they think, oh, he's just kind of like a David Byrne with the glasses and kind of he's a geek and whatnot. But he actually played keyboards on Foreigner 4. The song Urgent, you can hear his keyboards on. So he was a session musician before he actually kind of struck out in the early 80s and was definitely a part of the new wave movement. And I am talking about Thomas Dolby. This is the UK version of the album. This is the American version. There's slight differences in track. This has She Blinded Me with Science on it, whereas this version does not. There are some other track variations, but no matter which version, the UK or the North American version, it is still a fantastic album. And we talked about the Police and how they had that dark keyboard synthesizer sound. That is all over this album. Songs like Spirits in the Material World, Omega Man, Secret Journey, Darkness. That synth sound is this entire album. And he's a great songwriter. It's just very moody, atmospheric kind of album. The songs are not like She Blinded Me with Science at all. There's definitely a maturity to them. Radio Silence was a single off of here, which I think might have gotten some play on MTV, but just some great tracks on here. If you like synth pop, but kind of like darker synth pop, this is definitely an album to check out. I can't recommend this album, highly enough. Again, people think because of that damn video for She Blinded Me with Science, people don't take him seriously and they don't give him the credit that he's due. And he's another artist whose sound matured over his 4 albums that he put out in the 80s. The Flat Earth, which is his second album, sounds a lot more mature. It's almost like the difference between Tears for Fears' first 2 albums. And then he, Aliens Ate My Buick was his 3rd album, which actually Eddie Van Halen, I think, played on either his 3rd, I think it was his 4th album. Eddie Van Halen played on one of his tracks. I forget the name of it. Close But No Cigar was the name of the track. Eddie Van Halen plays on it and does the solo. So, he's definitely, other musicians regard him very highly, but you just don't hear anybody really talk about him that much other than in reference to him as a one-hit wonder. But
I like him.
mhm.
I've always liked him.
Yeah.
I've actually never listened to him besides that She Blinded Me with Science. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that song. So
Yeah, no,
I've heard
I like that song. I'm not making any apologies for that one. Without the video, and I mean, it's just got a little quirky kind of a track, but
Yeah, you're right. The video itself probably hurt him, because they tried to make it comedic.
right. And he looks like a high school science teacher. I mean, there's no getting
Yeah.
around the fact. I mean, he looks kind of like a bookworm, but
But at the time, back in the 80s, those videos didn't hurt them. It's just now looking back that they look funny. Back then, they were cool.
mhm.
When they were putting them out, I loved watching those videos. That was my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And even, you look at them now and some of them are really weird and corny, but back then they didn't seem like that.
Well,
Mhm.
didn't Billy Squire have a video that really set him back?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Rock
my
Me,
favorite
Rock Me
song-
Tonight, I think was it, or
Yeah.
the
I
one?
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. That's one of my favorite Billy Squire songs too. I love that song.
It's a
they
great
say
song.
The
Great song.
song was climbing up the charts, and then once the video came out, it plummeted, which is
I
crazy.
didn't even, when I was young, I didn't mind that video. I was
Yeah.
pretty young, but I actually liked it. So I'm a huge Billy Squire fan, and I like him a lot.
Me too.
Right.
All right, we're now to our number 1 picks.
All right. Well, Josh stole my thunder. So, I mean, should I just talk about They Might Be Giants then? I love them. I mean, are they new wave? They're sort of post-punk new wave. A lot of us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to talk about They Might Be Giants, although I love them. I got to go with The Cure. The Cure is my number 1 band. Like Josh said, I mean, I could be cool and say like the early albums are my favorite, or Pornography or something like that. And I did a Cure video a while back, and I can't remember which of these I said was my favorite. But my favorite song is A Letter to Elise, which is off of Wish. It's sort of like a love song part 2. But I got to go with what Josh said. I mean, Disintegration, this is the ultimate Cure record. I mean, this is phenomenal. He already talked about all the great songs on it. I mean, listen to the bass in Fascination Street. That's a freaking heavy song. And I agree with you, Josh. Pictures of You. Every time I hear that song, it just blows me away.
It's devastating. It's just so beautiful, and so
Yeah.
the lyrics are just perfect.
Yeah, I've almost driven off the side of the road a couple times as it controls you.
It does. Yep.
Well,
And
Chris.
in all seriousness, though, that song, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful song.
Yep.
So,
So
do me a favor. Don't listen to it in your car anymore. Just listen to it at
I
home.
won't. But listen, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me is a great album as well.
I love it.
But Disintegration, though, top number one.
Awesome.
And you guys are gonna kill me, but I never really liked the Cure or Depeche Mode.
All right,
I don't know
Aaron
why.
can't be part of these videos.
Hey,
that'll
Aaron,
leave it.
like I said, I just got my first Depeche Mode there the other week. I just got it because Jeff was talking about it so much. So I thought, all right, I got to hear what the hell this is. So,
Aaron, we'll end up sending you some BCLT, man. We're gonna make you listen to this shit.
and I don't know much by The Cure either. So, it was just kind of out of my wheelhouse at that time. I think with you guys, being a few years younger, it hit, like Jeff, you always talk about it being in college and listening and all that stuff, I didn't hit, that wasn't my crowd at that time to hear a lot of that stuff. So I kind of
And-
missed out on that.
I really think, Josh, shouldn't they start off with Disintegration probably?
Yeah. If you,
I've heard it.
And the album it's a headphone record. Like if you guys have headphones, I don't, but it's one of those albums where you just got to put headphones on and just disappear into it. The way it's mixed, it takes you on it's a dark, heavy, just thick, dense album. Like you just got to disappear into it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The thing that's always been that my thing about him is the vocals. I don't like the vocals so much, so it's hard for me to get the vocal style. Just that vocal style. Both of them kind of have a similar vocal style. It's just not my thing. But
Well, listen,
the
just drink a lot of beer.
Here we go. The
Don't
Cure.
Cure.
I'll drink a bunch of beer. And I won't drop.
so long at these pictures.
pictures of you.
You
I'll
know-
try it. It's been years, so I'll try it out again on your recommendation.
I don't know, Aaron. Maybe, your wife comes home, you got pictures of you on,
Yep.
It's probably going to work better than Clutch.
I don't know about that.
Oh, well, yeah.
He knows his life better than we do.
Nice.
I love
Yeah. She doesn't like Clutch either, so
it. You had us
You know,
going, Aaron.
I just do
That's
my own.
why I felt okay using the Psychedelic Furs as my honorable mention, because I knew some of you guys were going to be either picking Depeche Mode or The Cure and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, all right, if they can pick that stuff, I can use the Psychedelic Furs. That'll fit in. Okay. Number one is, for me, not only is this one of my favorite new wave albums, it's just one of my favorite all-time albums. And that's Eat to the Beat by Blondie.
Nice.
I love this album. I remember when I got it, and it's not just, I know, like a lot of times if I tell somebody, I like Blondie, they only think of Blondie as Debbie Harry, and it's like, no, Blondie was a band. And Clem Burke is their drummer, and he's one of the best fucking drummers that you've ever heard. This guy is like, if Keith Moon could keep time and everything, that's like how Clem Burke is. He has that Keith Moon aspect to him, but he can also just keep straight time, right? He's just an amazing drummer. And this album really showcases him. It starts out with the song Dreaming, which is basically like a drum solo going through the entire song. And, just the album cover itself and the back, I just think it's so cool looking. I remember as a kid getting that, even the inside sleeve, to me, that's just is so cool looking. I thought this band was just very, very slick. They were like from New York and everything. They were a little bit different. I used to, like you guys are, kind of saying about some stuff. I used to take crap because I loved Blondie. I had like some of my friends, they'd be like, oh, because it was just all hard rock stuff. And they're like, Blondie, why do you like Blondie? And I'm like, because they're awesome. Their songs, they combined so many different styles in their songs. They had songs that were like basically very new wave. They had songs that were punk rock. They had songs that sound like they came from 1966. They had reggae influences. They were just all over the place. They had like later on, if you go into Auto American, they even have like a jazz kind of song in there. So they had a lot of different influences, and they always grew with each album. I know that, you know, it would have probably been cooler if I would have put Parallel Lines up here, but this is just, you know, this album has just always resonated with me, and I've never got tired of it. And I remember, you know, because they were big when you know, I was still fairly young at this point, so I never got a chance to see them. And then they reunited in 1999, and I got to drive up to Cleveland and, you know, see them play. And it was one of those moments where it was like a dream come true for me. I was like, oh my God, you know, here they are. I thought I would never see this band, you know, because they had been broken up for years. Never thought it would happen. You know, Debbie Harry had a solo career, and she was also doing the Jazz Passengers, different things like that. And they got back together. And I remember, you know, just seeing them there. And I remember seeing Clem Burke on the drums, you know, back there playing. And it was just so exciting to me to see Blondie playing up there. And, you know, they're another band that, in a way, I think people don't take them as seriously, because for one thing, they had the female singer, and people think of, she was like a sex symbol at the time. So, you know, that's kind of all they, you know, how many times do you hear people call Debbie Harry Blondie? You know, they act like that's her name. And, you know, they just think of maybe The Tide is High, or, you know, something like that, or Call Me. And I just think there's so much to that band, and this album just has it all. So this is my number one pick, Eat to the Beat by Blondie. I'm passionate about this album, can you tell?
Yeah.
I like them too.
Cool.
I got like 5 records of them or so.
Awesome. Yeah, I've got a few too. Like all of them.
Right.
All right. So my number one album, I do not physically own. I ordered it. There's a reason why I don't. So back in the day, I used to have every single album by this band, and there was a box set put out by Rhino called The Complete Smiths. So I got my little Morrissey here, and I've been dying for them to repress it. So I haven't bought any of these Smiths albums, because I was like, one day they'll repress this box and I'll buy it. But I broke down and bought my favorite album, and I was hoping it'd be in today, and it's called The Queen is Dead. I absolutely love the Smiths. I discovered the Smiths after they were disbanded with Morrissey's solo work. Yeah, that's the album right there. I'm a huge Morrissey fan. I'm a huge Smiths fan. Johnny Marr, Bruce Springsteen is trying to get the Smiths in the Hall of Fame, because he says Johnny Marr has the most unique guitar sound. And I do believe Johnny Marr is just like Gilmour, just like Clapton, just like Harrison. Those guitarists, you know, as soon as they hit a note, who it is, right? And Johnny Marr is the same way. But then you got Morrissey, who a lot of people can't stand because he's kind of an asshole. But he's got fantastic lyrics. Morrissey's got amazing lyrics. And there's a song in there called There's a Light That Never Goes Out, which actually there's a live version, Aaron, I'll send you, which is more hard rock, which was done in the 2000s. Because I know a lot of people don't necessarily like the sounds of the Smiths, but their songs are, I feel, lyrically are amazing. The textures of the songs, you know, there's funny songs on the album, like Some Girls Are Bigger Than Others, Some Girls' Mothers Are Bigger Than Other Girls' Mothers, and lyrics like that Morrissey sometimes will make you laugh. But overall, I just think they're a fantastic band. They get a lot of love, they get a lot of hate, but definitely probably one of my favorite alternative new wave or, you know, post-punk type of bands. So there you go, the Smiths, my number one.
I totally forgot about the Smiths. I'm so annoyed. This is the deluxe CD version of that, a box set.
Yeah, and it has a concert that's live in Mansfield, which is literally 20 minutes from my house. So yeah, I was hoping they'd reissue that, but they have not.
And
either.
you mentioned Morrissey. I got to show you my favorite Morrissey album. It's Vauxhall and I. And this had the hit, The More You Ignore Me, The Closer I Get.
Yep. This
is a killer record.
Have you heard We Are the Quarry by Morrissey?
I have it. Yeah, I've got everything he's ever done.
That album, We Are the Quarry, is just unbelievable. Like, to me, that every song is a masterpiece on that song.
Well, his new album is really good too. Oh,
Yep.
there we go. Yeah. This is such a great record.
So yeah, Morrissey.
He's got a song on here called "Lifeguard Sleeping Girl Drowning." That is freaking
Yep.
awesome. Yeah.
All right.
You ready for my number one, or you good? Do you want to talk more Morrissey?
I was gonna
Jeff,
say
do you
another
like
another
Morrissey?
fun title is "You're the One for Me, Fatty."
I
Yeah,
love
that's
it.
great.
Yeah.
My favorite Smith song though is "Half a Person." So.
Yeah. I like "Girlfriend in a Coma."
Oh,
I know it's serious.
Oh man,
So good.
we are not cool anymore.
I just
Well,
don't know.
maybe my monkey shirt might have given it away.
Yeah.
All right,
Monkeys are cool.
They are cool.
Well, my number one, I guarantee no one else has this as their number one. But this album is one of my favorite albums of the 80s, and it's Dangerous Dreams by the Nails.
Never.
If you don't know the Nails, they kind of sound like if you mix Lou Reed and the Cars. That's kind of their sound. And it's just so amazing. The song Dig Yourself a Hole, it just grabs you right from the beginning. And these great lyrics, very different, kind of clutchish lyrics, not really clutch, but that kind of the odd lyrics. And there's a song on here called Things You Left Behind. That's just the craziest lyrics you'll ever hear. It's just all about like a girlfriend breaking up with them, talking about all the stuff he's finding that she left behind. It's really cool. But every song on this is really good. A song called The Veil. Hello, Janine. You guys would love this record. I had a thing, I was going to do a video with Robert and Glenn, and I picked this one as one to listen to, and they were both like, holy crap. I couldn't believe how good it was. And it's an amazing, amazing, not well-known record. And I think everybody would actually like this record if they heard it. Very,
I'm gonna order it.
oh yeah, it's good. You'd like it.
What year did it come out?
I like this album a little better. I mean, this one, I think this might have been the second album.
It came out in 1986, Josh.
Nice.
86.
Yeah.
This is 86, and
Yeah.
it's just,
Nails.
yeah. And if you, it's got a harder edge to it, but it's still new wavy, alternative, catchy, very quirky at times. Really memorable. The song just stick in your head.
How did you hear about that band?
Actually, my stepdad, who's an artist, and he gave me his collection a while back. This is one of his records. He specifically pointed this out to me and said, listen to this, listen to Things You Left Behind. It's just such a great song. But Dig Myself a Hole, man, listen to those songs first, and then if you like those, you like the whole album. It's just Dig Myself a Hole, Things You Left Behind, but it's all good. Really great album.
You discovered him fairly recently then, right?
Oh, 10 years ago or so.
Oh, okay.
No. I've known him for a while. This is like one of those records I'll put on for someone, or they come over and it's like, listen to this. What is that? And just kind of blow them away, because it's one of those that just blows you away when you hear it. It's just
Cool.
very unique.
So I just bought a sealed copy for $12.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
I was
trade
looking at Discogs. It's pretty cheap. I'm gonna buy it too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you
So
guys will
listen.
like
So
Stuff you like.
Josh, if we don't like it, we'll just send Aaron hate mail.
it. Well, no, you don't like it, I will buy them off you so I can have more copies. So I'll wear this one out. So I like
No,
it.
I'm gonna like it. I like your style of music, so I know I'm gonna like
Yeah.
it.
It's good. This
Thank you.
album is just really unique, and it's not very well known. So I don't know. Jeff might know it because he's the master of this music.
Yeah.
What's the title of it?
I have to.
Dangerous Dreams.
Mhm.
Dangerous Dreams?
Yep, that's kind of nuts. That cover too. And here's the back.
I love the cover, dude.
Yeah, it's good. It's unique. Yeah, it's a really good record though.
I can't do
The
these.
more I hear it, the
videos
more I like it.
anymore.
Huh?
I can't do these videos anymore. I keep finding albums I want to get.
Yeah. Did you know this band, Jeff?
No, I have to confess, I've never heard it before, but
I never heard of him.
All right.
yeah, you had me at the Cars.
Well, it's kind of just got that sound, but if like mix Lou Reed's weirdness and kind of lyrical style, kind of mixed in his kind of vocal approach.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Well, I think
It's not-
you had me when you said Lou Reed, because I love Lou Reed. So
Yeah, it isn't him, but it's
Right.
reminiscent. Sure.
right.
Well, you had me when you said nails because I used to be a carpenter. So
I was a mason, so we were working on jobs together and didn't know it.
Oh,
well, I used to work in construction a bit. So
I did too for a long time.
All right, Aaron, I just ordered it, buddy.
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, you
The
told
band
me.
Nails is like, holy crap, we're selling a lot of our records.
Boom, you know.
With shipping, it was $13 and it's in the shrink. So
Yeah,
Oh,
mine
wow.
was too. Yeah, like 12.
So you guys have better copies than I have.
Mine actually has a hype sticker, JC.
I don't know if mine's. It didn't list.
I'm kidding. I don't know.
I just
I want
ordered the
like-
MoFi edition.
Half speed.
oh, bye.
If
I'm
I
gonna go
can find
see
it,
if
I'd order it.
I gotta go see if Yaz is the MoFi's not sold out. Maybe I'll buy that.
All right. Well, my number one, and again, I'm going back to synth pop because that really is some of my favorite new wave alternative from the early '80s. But I don't think it's an exaggeration to call this band synth pop pioneer. Their first album came out in 1979. They were heavily influenced by Kraftwerk, and they just put out one amazing album after another. I'm talking about Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. This album is sort of a synth pop version of Saucer Full of Secrets by Pink Floyd.
Ooh.
The birth of industrial, that late 80s, early 90s industrial Ministry, Skinny Puppy, Nine Inch Nails. It all got its start right here. It's at times abrasive synthesizers, but then also there's some ethereal quality to it. If you know anything about OMD, it's dark, it's atmospheric, it's moody, but it's also gorgeous. They managed to craft songs that are so, melodic and interesting to listen to. And it's just such a unique sound. Nobody before or since has sounded like OMD, no matter how hard they've tried. And they got a little poppier as the decade wore on, but here they're very much influenced by, Kraftwerk. You definitely hear that in their sound, but definitely a band worth checking out. If you like, your Depeche Mode, if you like kind of, The Cure, like circa, Pornography, that album, before they started getting into kind of their mid 80s pop sound. Joy Division, there's elements of that in here. Early New Order took their cues from OMD with their sound. But so many bands, if you liked your, 80s synth pop, they don't employ drum machines on here. It's actually, they have a drummer that plays on here, but very cool album. This has, the stuff that's on their greatest hits tends to pop up is like Souvenir or Joan of Arc. But some very cool stuff on that album.
I've never heard it, but it seems amazing.
I need to get that now too.
I have heard them, but it's been a long time. I can't. A couple of songs they had that were kind of big hits, weren't there?
Yeah, no, they're a great band. People know them from that song "If You Leave," which I think was on the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. And they sort of morphed into that whole new romantic, new wave sound, kind of like Brian Ferry-esque. And that's kind of who their vocalist Andy McCluskey sounds a lot like Brian Ferry. He's kind of got that sound, a little bit of David Bowie in there also. But yeah, it's a cool band to check out. And their next album, Dazzle Ships, is totally the most non-commercial synth pop you'll ever hear. And then after that album, they kind of realized, okay, we're going to lose our record label. We're going to lose our record contract if we don't start, kind of becoming a little more mainstream. But yeah, their first couple albums are really solid.
Before we close out, I want to talk about this band real quick, and I'm probably cheating because I'm throwing another band in here. Icicle Works.
I haven't
They're an early 80s band. They had a huge hit with the song Whisper to a Scream. It is an amazing song. These guys are, I would consider them like an alternative new wave band. And they just came to me as we were doing this.
Isn't that Julian Cope?
Ian McNabb, Chris Lane, and Chris Chirac.
Oh, okay. I might be thinking of I'm thinking of
This
a different band then.
This is an amazing album. A lot of people don't know about it. The band is Icicle Works, and if you listen to the song "Whisper to a Scream," and that song is so catchy, it's just a great song. So yeah, any of the bands that we listed tonight, if you're into those guys, check out Icicle Works.
Well, what about, so nobody's watching anymore at this point anyway. So what, the rest of us, like if you could just, you don't have to talk about one more band you thought might get mentioned tonight. Mine would be The Fix. I thought somebody might mention The Fix.
Well, I
What about
mentioned
you?
they might be giants too. So
Where was Howard Jones?
Talk.
Talk
What is
Talk.
it?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Aaron?
I was thinking someone would show Howard Jones.
Oh, Howard Jones. Okay. Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I don't know. I think Talk was a great one. I think that's probably one that was on my list. But yeah,
And Men Without Hats. Sorry.
oh, Men Without Hats, yeah.
Dexy's Midnight Runners.
My favorite. They definitely had the look.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. If you're still tuning in, all three of you, I appreciate it. A lot of fun. Hopefully, you've discovered some new music and you've learned a little bit from this video. But thank you, gentlemen. Once again, it's been a pleasure, and definitely check everybody out. If you're not already a subscriber to their videos, absolutely get in on some of the awesomeness. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much, and
See ya.
take care.
Adios.
that was a lot of fun, guys.